to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Total protonic reversal.
Protonic reversal.
Protonic reversal with your host, Conan Neutron. Broadcasting from a secret underground lair in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
A gigantic middle finger to everything that is rotten about music, rock and roll, and corporate power.
The thing is, though, if you don't laugh, you're going to go on a killing spree with sharpened nails.
Confidence of a hero or a fool. I wasn't exactly certain which.
Could not be more professional.
Okay. It means something. It means something.
You know, that's my take. What's yours?
Protonic reversal.
That's like a science thing, right?
Indeed it is. It is a science thing. It is a science place. It is a scientific fact that we're all up in your face. It is time once again for the one, the only Protonic Reversal. Welcome to it. The great post-tour edition of this show. Happy to be doing this and getting in before the old Thanksgiving holiday. So you can be thankful that there's another episode of Protonic Reversal. I know that I am, because we're going to be, in mere moments, well, at least a minute anyway, talking to Mr. Stephen McDonald of Redd Kross, Melvins, off. So much great music, great dude. It's been a while since he's been on, so I'm really excited to talk to him about all that stuff. Before we do that, though, welcome to Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. I'm your host, Conan Neutron. I'm a rock and roll lifer that's been touring and recording for 25 years, most known for the band Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends. Music is a huge part of my life, and I use the format of this very long-running podcast to talk about music with musicians whose work I enjoy and respect, but who may not be household names. This is episode 444. Wow. If this is your first time listening to the show, archives of it are available for free. No ads, no sponsors, no kidding at protonicreversal.com. However, if you want to support the show and get episodes sooner, $1 a month at patreon.com/protonicreversal will achieve that goal. Now, if you like the show, or even just a single episode, please feel free to like, subscribe on your platform of choice, share it around the internet, and even leave a review. All that helps people discover the show, beats back the almighty algorithmic overlords, and it's just a darn nice thing to do. Okay, so housekeeping. The Conan Neutron and Secret Friends tours are over for the year. We're playing one more show for my birthday, December 5th with Mike Watt in Los Angeles at Redwood Bar. So that's going to be amazing. If you happen to be in LA, I know some of you are, and the bad timing of our last LA show with, the ice raids down the street, I get it. Maybe you're going to skip that one. But this should be good. Those will be the last shows of the year, moving into 2026. So take note for that. But we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk to Mr. Shane McDonald, who is fantastic and who has been very busy himself all year, and with more awesome Redd Kross activity coming up as well. Of course, Redd Kross, Melvins, off. This guy's a badass. He's great. Love talking to him. It's been too long. I kind of messed up and not scheduling things before things got real busy for him. But here he is, the kind, gregarious, magnanimous, very talented Shane McDonald. Welcome back to the show, sir.
I like it. You're calling me Shane McDonald.
Yeah, Stephen Shane McDonald.
Shane. My brother calls me. Well, it comes from, some people have called me in the past Seamus, and then Jeff has just abbreviated to Shanix.
See, it's funny for me because it's like when I try to like spell people's names correctly, just because my name is a horror show, and I'm like, I always like, oh, I better check to make sure it's V versus PH, and then I always like, oh, it has to be Stephen Shane McDonald that comes up, right?
Or you can just call me Shanix if you
Shanix. Want. Stephen McDonald, aka Shanix. That's what I call him.
McDonald's contacts.
Yeah.
It used to be Stephen Shanix. Now it's just Shanix. But yeah, sure. Hi.
Yeah, Stephen McDonald. Good to see you, man. Thanks for making the time, brother.
Sure.
You've had a hell of a year. You've had a lot of activity. I was like looking back. I was like, wow, that was in 1 year. Huh? There was just a lot of stuff happening because there was a lot of Melvin stuff. There's a lot of Redd Kross stuff. There was just a lot of rock and roll activities. How's it been?
Live performances this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, taking the big show everywhere. I got to see it in Madison. That was great. I really enjoyed it. It was badass. This may be a controversial opinion, but I think the last Redd Kross record might be the best one.
Oh wow, controversy. Let's just start off with the controversy.
Sound off in the comments, like and subscribe.
The comment section went wild.
But I really do think it's great, man. It's a really great record, and I was kind of sad that I was like, oh, I should have him on before that comes out, and then whatever. I just sometimes the crack show. It's a one-man show here, so
no worries.
Got to it eventually.
Well, we're still kind of touring that record, so I'm fine with your attention on it, and thank you very much for the kind word.
Well, I think because Redd Kross is a band I kind of came to later. Like I always had heard the name, and I was someone that was very, especially as a younger man, like really into Black Flag and like Descendants and whatnot. And I was like, oh yeah, those Redd Kross guys. Yeah, I got to remember to listen to that, and I just didn't for the longest time. And it was one of those things where I was like, oh yeah, God, Redd Kross. I need to remember to listen to that. I bet I'm gonna like that a lot. And fast forward like years later, as a grown ass man, I was actually sitting around talking with Dale, and I was like, hey, I've never really tried to listen to Redd Kross that much. Where should I start? And he's like, oh, well, you should probably just start with Teen Babes from Monsanto and go from there. But, I think you might like Neurotica a lot. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Check that out. And so I finally did. And I was like, oh, man, yeah, I was right. This rules. But just for whatever reason, it just took me years. It took me years to listen to you guys. So I caught up quickly and did all my research as I normally do. But I got into you guys, I don't know, 10 years ago. And it's also the same kind of thing where I didn't even get into Husker Du until around the same time, because it was just a little bit class ahead of me that I just didn't know. I knew the name, but I got into Sugar before I got into Husker Du, and it was like, okay, well then I'll backtrack. Oh yeah, these records are great too. And I guess what I'm saying is that I feel like you guys have a very firmly ensconced place in history along with some of these other iconic great bands, but I always felt that there's almost more in common with Cheap Trick or something than Black Flag to a certain degree, sound wise, if not approach. And there's just not a lot of power pop, for whatever it is, representation in that kind of music. And I always felt very interesting that it's oh yeah, Redd Kross kind of hasn't gotten their due. And I was wondering why for the longest time, because these songs are great, they're catchy, the show is huge. What more do you need? Yeah, and then it's something where you've been doing this for so long, and it's been pretty consistent. And then it's oh wow, I bet they could do a final form. This is the big record, and it would hit a different audience that just was sort of, in plain sight. And it's kind of what I feel what happened with this last record. I feel people are finally vibing with it maybe the way that they should have from the beginning. So anyway, that's not even a question. That's more of a TED Talk. But it's kind of nice to see from an outside perspective. It seems like Redd Kross is finally getting some deep appreciation. And I like that. I like seeing that. And I don't know if you're feeling that on the inside or not, but...
Well, I can explain it. Why that's why we've been together for so long, because we were waiting for you to come on board, Conan.
Sorry, I was really late to the party.
We sensed that you weren't with us, and we were waiting for the I guess the first coming of Conan. No,
we have to get him. This is going to be the one that's going to get him. Yeah. Sorry.
No, I appreciate it, and no,
I made up for lost time. I will say that.
Yeah, thank you. I think you make a good point that it's never too late to join the cult,
the Redd Kross Army,
the cult, the army, the tribe, whatever.
I guess Kiss has the army, so you could be the Navy or something, the Air Force.
Well, it's funny because I maybe it's my competitive spirit. When you mentioned 25 years of doing your band, I thought. I started doing my math, and I was like 47 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say, no, you got it. Yeah. to be fair, you started much younger than I did. I started kind of late, and you started on the earlier side, which I love.
To be fair to both of us, because I'm not in my 70s, it's true. Most people that could make that claim are probably well into their 70s, but or at least into their early 70s. But yeah, it's true. I was 11, so when
that's insane to me. But
started
it's like
our band. But yeah, I mean, I think that if I can now, if you pass the TED Talk baton to me for a second.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I just say, Stephen, the episodes are always a little weird after I get off on tour. I forget to have a normal conversation. So sorry if apologies in advance.
No, but you weren't asked. You said it wasn't a question, but I was just going to say, if you'd added, why is that at the end? I would say perhaps the reason why you didn't think to listen to us is because maybe it had come across your desk, but it sounded so different than the other bands that we were aligned with, that it was like, for you, probably like, what? This doesn't sound like this or that. And so we just had to wait until you were open to
Till my heart was open, yes.
Sounding like that. And so back to us having, that's why we have been together so long. We've been waiting for you guys, you and whoever else, to come along to it not sounding like this or that. And then you mentioned Cheap Trick, and that was one of the first bands I ever saw play live.
That's
not the
so
first, but I did see them open for Kiss when I was 10 years old.
A, that's amazing. And B, I also feel like there's a correlation with like what Cheap Trick does is very, like, the songwriting is very smart. Like, it's catchy as heck, but it's like very smart. And
it's dark too at times.
And
like,
there's no undercurrent of darkness.
Sugary melodies, but then there's songs about suicide and stuff like that.
Yeah, if you listen to like, what are they singing about? Wow, this is heavy stuff, And another corollary, I would say Sloan, right? Like that's sort of like, people that are into Sloan, you probably like Redd Kross and vice versa.
Sloan are allies.
Yeah. and that's something where, I'm sure there's like a world for that. But yeah, when you're coming at it from the more aggressive stuff, it's sort of like, oh, okay, this is different. But then I think about it in terms of like, the Descendants are like, sort of revved up Beach Boys. I mean, I say that with, as a fan, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And Buzzcocks, those are timelessly great pop songs that just have like loud guitars, So it's not like there isn't a corollary for it. I don't know. I was late to the party. Sorry.
It's okay. We don't judge. We have a place at our party.
And by late to the party, I mean I was like 35. It wasn't like that's good. Yeah.
Come to the party. Try the Kool-Aid.
And I was there was that what's it, Desolation Center, that documentary with like all the Sonic Youth and Swans and Savage Republic and all that crazy like thing in the desert. And like I saw that, and which was good, by the way, like whenever that came out. And I was like, oh snap, Redd Kross is in this. It's like, God, they must have been like 7 or 8 years old or something. I must like, because I don't think of you guys like, first of all, both of you guys have aged very well, right? And that's something where it's like, I feel like you've kind of looked about the same for like a while. I kind of got the same thing going on. My dad had the same thing going on. He looked the same for 25 years, and then overnight, boom, old man. Like, just like overnight.
Is that what we have to look forward to?
Well, I think you've
that one really bad night.
I think that's what I have to look forward to, my guy. But yeah, but it's something where it's easy to forget just how much a part of history Redd Kross has been if you don't say watch the documentary. And it was so neat to be like, oh yeah, those guys were there. Fantastic. They were going to this crazy party in the middle of the desert that, was like, don't get lost, by the way. And there's all these kind of moments in history that Redd Kross was at. Like, like we talked about last time, like how like all the quote unquote grunge bands, they were all about Neurotica. They like love that record, and they're correct to have loved that record because it's kind of coming from that same, hey, some of this big crazy music, it's awesome, especially if you strip down the artifice of like this facile, shameless, gross, mercantile thing that's happening with like the Sunset Strip or whatever, with like these fake bands is like putting on an artifice rather than like finding like the joy in this huge music and putting it through a sensibility that includes punk rock. And you guys were ahead of the time on that. And I don't know if you feel that on the inside, but it was like something was like, wow, if I would have heard this before I heard, like whatever, the Pixies or something along those lines, it could have been a totally different story. And I've talked to a lot of people about that as well. And I mean, do you feel that on the inside? Is that like, how do you feel like that record in the pantheon of records that you've made, does that one like loom large, or are you just like, well, whatever, we were doing this?
Oh, everything is like we were doing this, but some records were easy to make and some records were hard to make. So like when you talk to me about specific records, I can either be like fun or a buzzkill because
sure, yeah,
because what people have, but because I realize that it's like, as a music fan myself, I have my own attachment to something which could be totally separate from what the artist's experience was.
Right.
I always, everything, I'm such a one-trick pony, everything equates back to the Beatles. And I know that was a very stressful, our history tells us that was a tension-filled experience for them. For me, it's like, it's an incredible document of creativity. And I mean, it's 30 songs, so you can't say they were completely dysfunctional because something was functioning. And, but at the same time, it's like when you hear the people directly involved in the making of it, it's almost like, well, then what's my experience account for? Because for me, it's just it's a collection of joy and and creativity and misery too, like Your Blues or whatever, but it's so beautifully executed. And so whatever, it's always different from the artist's perspective. I mean, when I think about Neurotica, I might think about the teenager me that made that record and my expectations or whatever. Maybe I was annoyed with a band member or something.
Never.
Or confused,
Yeah.
But all I know is that we got to tour a lot on that record.
Yeah.
And that's when it was the sort of the first record that we got to record and then tour as a band. And there wasn't like a shuffling of band members between the process of recording. And although we did lose our drummer at the end of that album cycle. And so, I mean, those are the kinds of experience I often equate, like, oh, and then we had to find a drummer and what led to the drummer leaving and like all just the personal drama that an era. That's kind of what unfortunately comes to my, I don't know, but I mean, but for the most part, all the highfalutin anthropological talk, I mean, we were just being ourselves. I don't know. We were just doing what we know how to do. And if it struck a chord with a particular group of people, well, then that was, kismet or whatever.
And that makes sense. Did you? I'm sure you saw that multi-part Beatles thing sometime back where they were. You get to see like all these iterations of like what they're doing, and then you see them. My favorite is that when they're just fucking around, like John Lennon's like singing in like a goofy voice, and just all the stuff that happens when bands practice, right? Where you're just like, oh yeah, that's they're a band, right? They're not just like these larger than life, musical icons, like they're fellas playing in a band. And
it's quite relatable.
I mean, that was one of my favorite parts of it. I thought that was wonderful.
I mean, the only thing that's different is that they're in these beautiful, large. Well, I guess the Apple studio is a bit more cramped, but they're in these big studios, and working out their song pieces as a band, and that is magical, and it makes me a little jealous because I'm usually just and I'm grateful to have it, but I'm usually just in my little room by myself,
just doing it on your own. And there is a different thing when, Paul's like, hey guys, I came up with this, and it's, it's Get Back, and you're like, Jesus Christ, okay.
like kind of fiddle around.
Yeah, and it's like, and then it's like, oh, it's like it's there, but then like, oh yeah, and let's try that, and it's like, oh my God, it's coming together before our very eyes. That's insane, right?
Oh, it's cool, but yeah, I mean, their thing is very to a band. Anybody that's been in a band, I think it's very relatable, and it's great to hear their music in such a half-baked formative stage, because you can hear that just how human they were too, because it's easy to take them out of the for me at least, to take them out of the human category and thinking that everything would just arrive fully baked. And
fully formed from the head of Zeus or whatever, right? Just done, right? It's like, no.
They're all extremely talented, obviously, and they're all very musical people, but they're, humans that needed to put time and effort into refining their thing. And some of it, they had more time to refine, and sometimes, and you can hear it. And sometimes they had less time.
Right.
And there were politics that went into what got refined. And, I can go down these rabbit holes, and like one of my favorite rabbit holes recently was George Harrison complaining about Paul McCartney making them play Maxwell Silver Hammer over and over and over. And he kept saying Paul would make us play these fruity songs. I mean, it's so fruity. I mean, Maxwell Silver Hammer is so, he just said, what he kept using, fruity, over and over and over. And I don't take pleasure from the fact that they had tension, but just the fact that so even if you're Paul McCartney, you're still, even if you have accomplished such insane things with your group, you still have to you're still always proving yourself. You're still always having to battle with the human condition of rallying people, and humans, it's three other people that are, maybe they had a shitty day, or maybe something's stressing them out, or maybe they're neglecting something they're supposed to be doing, and they're just distracted. And then here you are trying to produce something that's maybe joyful when they're not feeling joyful at that moment or something. And then how does someone navigate that? If you're leading it, do you start to sulk, or do you turn into, a taskmaster, or are you somehow transcending your emotional state and just keeping it cool? And that's what you mostly see in that movie, which is amazing to me. It makes me so, just even more impressed by how good they all were at navigating each other and not blowing it. They were just like very sophisticated communicators, not only of their era, not only of their age, but of their era as well. It's just, I mean, in the AI or whatever, how they cleaned it up doesn't hurt that it makes it look like it was filmed yesterday.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's really believable that it would have been filmed yesterday, especially once it's the late 60s and they're just kind of dressing like the way we still dress now, people that have been influenced by rock and roll and whatever punk. And it's just like, what? I mean, they've got some really cool clothes. I wish I had some.
They do, yeah. I'd be like, oh man, I'd love to raid that closet. That'd be great.
But it's not all paisley or whatever. It's not all necessary. It's not all like obviously 66 groovy flower power. And yeah, so whatever. I mean, I can go on and on and on. But yeah, I forgot what my end point was with that. But
well, I'll just, since we're talking about it, which by the way, I feel like when that came out, every episode had at least a 10-minute segment of any musician of any genre where we're like, oh yeah, it was so cool when this, like it just was, it is somehow a unifying factor of like, oh yeah, it's the Beatles. Like, I mean, Jesus H. Christ, it's the Beatles. But one of my favorites is like, I think John and Paul were like going back and forth, like, kind of bickering about this or that or the other. And just shows us sort of Ringo. And he just like, this is not loving it. And to which I said, to my credit, as like, I just want to play the drums, like out loud. And Mrs. Neutron, who is, we'll say, a harsh critic of my comedy, like lost it, because it was exactly that's like what he was thinking, right? He's just like, can we just like play a song, guys? Like,
and over as well.
And he's like, I don't care who wins in this side of the conversation. I just want to play this freaking song. Yeah, but like those kinds of relatable moments were so huge. I mean, anyone who's ever played like a DIY space show or a house show or something, like the cops trying to shut down the rooftop show was like so relatable. It's like, oh my God, the Beatles have something in common with like any punk rock band ever.
You know, Paul's happy. Paul smiles when he sees the cop, because he's trying to like spark something into the group as far as like, you know, because then it becomes like in that moment, I would imagine it's like it's us against them. You know, it's even more bonding. And then I'm also thinking of the internal dialogue of John and Yoko, because it's like, who's holding the crap,
right?
Yeah,
because you know they're going to be looking, and it's those days too. And it's like,
yeah. So,
that's the big prestige thing. Oh, we got a Beatle. You know, it's like when
right. So there's a lot of subtext going on that's fun to speculate on.
Right, absolutely. No, and I think that was you know, that was a very special moment in time that we don't get a lot of. You know what I mean? Like, we don't get a lot of those. Or if we do, we're not getting them for like something like the Beatles. We're getting it for, you know, for like whatever, like a modern band. I'm sure that's great. Maybe there's people that like prefer that and whatnot. But it is interesting seeing a window into that. You know, it's the just like me for real of oh yeah, well, who hasn't tried to talk down a cop that is trying to shut down the show? You know. Got to give them the old razzle dazzle to see. They probably got 3 more songs. If I keep them talking, they can at least finish their set. You know, like that kind of thing. It's pretty great, and I feel like there is a lot of the Beatles within Redd Kross, which isn't to say that, you know, oh, you are a rock band that plays music and like everyone does, but I feel like they're in the way that you can hear the personality in the Beatles songs of the players and what's happening. It's something that I think you can totally hear in Redd Kross. And I think it's even over the various lineups, like it's something that's become very apparent to me. And I don't think every band feels that way, but there is definitely something unique about what you guys do that is playing together. And when you have played together, like with your brother for that freaking long, is it just like telepathy? Do you even need to like think about it at all? Or do you have to like, is there any fight to like remain present when you're creating or playing or anything along those lines? How is the mental state of playing and writing in Redd Kross?
Yeah, the word fight got me. Really fight to stay present, is what you said.
Yeah, I mean...
but I mean, that's, you know, that's the thing, is it's always an inside job, no matter, you know. So, yeah, of course. I mean, for me, it's actually more of a fight. It's funny because I just toured with Redd Kross and the Melvins together, where I pulled double duty. So I had this like weird experience, uncommon experience of playing in my band that I've played in for 47 years. And then a half hour later playing in the band that I've been in for almost a decade.
10 years now. Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah. And I would say it was much easier for me to be present, at least the way I understand that word, during the band that I've been in for 10 years than the band that I was in for 47 years. And granted, my duties are more complicated in Redd Kross because I do a lot more singing and a lot more, there's more on my shoulders, more, but also there's the nervous system reaction to my relationship with my brother, which is not always easy.
Yeah, well, it's fraught, right? Because it's going to be simultaneously great and like annoying sometimes. You know, I mean, the thing is, I mean, I'm not on here to like to say that I'm not trying to point a finger, because it's like I'm one half the story or more than. Sure.
if I'm telling it, it's definitely biased towards me. But
And I would love to have Jeff on sometime. That'd be great.
well, we've
I
been
would love
carrying. Yeah, you should have Jeff on sometime. But and he can, and his side of the story would probably be like, I don't know. I don't want to get into it, but
it doesn't matter. Tell your side of the story.
But I would just say that, like, sharing a responsibility with someone for that long, and then the extra enmeshed level of it being a sibling, you have a lot of history. So when you're, it's hard to separate some of those historical experiences when you're walking through the fire, when you're on stage and the adrenaline is flowing, but the thing is, it's a double-edged sword or whatever, because when it gets difficult and you have difficult triggers responding, it could be much harder to navigate. But if it's really good, then I could actually even tear up. It's,
Sure.
And that's also part of my makeup. That's who I am. Not everybody Jeff, I've never seen Jeff get anywhere near tearing up.
That's not his vibe.
Not his vibe, exactly. Yeah. And but yeah, so I would say the stakes, and once again, it's always an inside job. It's just in my head, but the stakes are much higher, and the pain could be much greater, and the euphoria can be more intense as well. So, I just always say that it's so much of the performance for me, and I'm hoping to get better about this. Meditation probably has something to do with it, but a lot of it is managing my experience. A lot of it's managing my nervous system.
Okay.
And so that doesn't sound very present, does it?
No.
My nervous system. With Melvins, it's more like my role is very specific. It's almost like I'm a laborer, and I know how to do my job. And although if someone watching it, they might be confused to hear me put it that way, because it's such a theatrical job. And not to say that it's filled with insincere theatricality. It's very, I try to tap into something that's very authentic, at least, but it's a well oiled machine. Buzz is a very well lubed, oiled machine leader.
Yeah.
And I never have to think about whether or not Buzz is got it under control. And then part of a tick for me, or my neurosis, would be that I would be spending too much time concerned about my brother when I'm performing. And that's, so.
Which is a different relationship. That's a creative partnership, and also a sibling, and that's always going to, there's complicated stuff that happens with all of that, and it engages differently, and I've talked in the past, both on this show and off, that I love in Melvins that you bring like the big arena rock show to it, and I've always been a fan of that. I've always kind of I like that kind of stuff. Like, it's sort of like, what are we doing? It's like the opposite of, you remember when there was that big trend towards everyone just kind of staring at their feet and just sort of like, politely strumming. I was like, what do we do? Why have a show? What are we doing here? Like, because I'm coming from that world of like, I think it should be big. We should be making moments that transcend the vague, mediocre miseries of everyday life. And part of that is going to be like a expression that's larger. And I think that you've done a fantastic job in Melvins of, while staying true to, the intent of the music, and not just being ridiculous Cirque du Soleil style antics or whatever. You've brought in what you do to it seamlessly.
What's wrong with Cirque du Soleil?
I'm just saying it might be out of place, and also there might be some cleanup involved, but Cirque du Soleil is fine. Well, did you ever see Crash Worship and Idiot Flesh, any of those bands? They were kind of, I may have invoked Cirque du Soleil once in a while mentioning those bands, but anyway. No, but I think there's something to be said for that, because also you're coming at it from the position of someone that engaged with the music not as a player for years. Like, I remember it was the Ritz in San Jose. It was the first time that I saw you play with Melvins. and you opened with Eye Flies, and I'm like, oh wow, that's a bold move. That's a bold move. Like, I thought that was really freaking cool. I was like, A, haven't heard that song in a long time, and B, it's kind of like a statement of intent. Like, hey, jerks, here we go. You know, like let's ride. Like, and it's not like it was all, you know, like, hey, here's all the ponderous slow ones. It just fit nicely and deeply into the catalog, and was like, oh, I haven't heard them play that for like years. That was like super cool.
Well, that was like, I think the second show I ever played with Melvins, and that show in San Jose. And yeah, and I wasn't really complete. I was kind of there was so much to take in at the time. Yeah. I mean, you know, I was suddenly playing with a band that had been together for decades, with a prolific band that had been together for decades. So their catalog is so dense, and there's so much stuff, and then they've got a very hardcore following that, that has a much deeper understanding of them than I could ever have, and or at least especially at that stage. So you were probably more aware of what was going down in that moment than I even was. Like, looking back now, I kind of see it as like, oh, Buzz kind of orchestrated sort of like a clean slate with what we were doing at that time, and we slowly built it back up to where we are now. But I just was holding on for dear life doing the best. And
well, it didn't look that way to be good. So, but, yeah,
it's a unique thing being in any band, but especially being in a band with such a strong identity, because as a human being, you need to be yourself or you'll go a little crazy. But at the same time, you need to conform to the environment that you're in. And it's all a public experience in a band. And and then sometimes I unfortunately look at the comment sections and stuff and things because
don't do that. Yeah.
Human.
Yeah.
And, I get to hear people compare my contribution to other people that have been in that role. And I don't really know what they're talking about, because I don't know, as much detail about a specific era or something. And, and so it's been a ride to try to figure out, how do I be myself yet I try to make everyone happy. It's a weird old school, old habit of mine, and it's a fool's errand, because you'll
never make everybody happy. There's no way.
You're never gonna make everybody happy. But
I mean, if you're shooting for the people you're on stage with, you'll probably be doing okay. But don't even try to appease everybody. There's no way.
But trying to find the commonality and where what I'm doing with them and what works, because the thing is, I think musically, Melvins and Redd Kross, diverge quite a bit. The common ground is Kiss is a foundational thing for each of us. As the first band I ever saw live.
I think you did Deuce as the second song, if I remember correctly.
Sure, we would play Deuce. I even got a Gene Simmons style Gibson bass.
That's right. That's right. The
Black Ripper.
The Ripper,
which is what Gene Simmons was using in 75, 76 when I first saw them play.
Yeah, that works.
So what that really speaks to more, I think, is the way I take it is, as much as I like Kiss Alive in particular, musically, I do love it legitimately, but I think it also talks about their lean towards performance and that word again, theatricality. And so, and because it's like Buzz is a consummate performer, and he is very much about his performance. And although he doesn't expound on that in his interviews that I could see, it would seem too pretentious probably, but I can tell you, as the person that's been on stage left for a decade, the guy is dedicated to his performance,
and he knows what he does and what he's most comfortable with doing, and the things that he is not comfortable doing, he just does not do. That's not a thing, and it's all intentional. Yeah.
He's very much himself, and he knows what he's comfortable with and what he's not comfortable with.
Yeah.
but he has spent time in other people's bands.
Mhm.
So, and he has had to, other people's bands where they brought him in as Buzz from the Melvins. So he's supposed to be him at his always, but still having to, but also it's still when you're in someone else's band, you have to have that experience of not always calling all the shots.
It's a different set of skills, and ego has to go over here for a while.
It's socially, there's a new dynamic, and it's always going to be, whatever that is for the individual. But, but anyways, just back to, I think for me with Melvins, I think the big, and not that you've necessarily posed this specific question, but since it's been on my mind, the biggest challenge for me and especially since we just did this last tour, is that, we're both performance oriented live groups, Redd Kross and Melvins. But Redd Kross, I would say, is sort of in the business of peddling, to put it as reduce it as simple as possible. We're in the business of peddling joy.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's what we're
and that comes across. That comes across in the show. It's a big kind of rock and roll. Yeah, let's go.
About, that's not, there's no mistake about it. It's not really masked in any way, or there's no excuses made for it. And then Melvins, I think Buzz is in the business. What people are attracted to him specifically about is that he does bring joy to everybody. I think he makes everybody happy. It's a thrill to see what he does. But we're often relating to him as the person that's going to be the grumpy voice of our dissatisfaction.
Right.
And he does it in a campy, fun, lovable way, especially if you're behind the scenes. How fucking hilarious he is.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Yet he is not a stage banter guy, right? He doesn't like doing that.
Well, I evidently he did at one point, but he'll also get on a tangent that won't end. He knows better. And
yeah.
And so now he controls for that. So there's lots of things he controls for, like a science experiment. But
right, exactly. Like the one example that I would say he did, the first acoustic tour he did, he kind of told some stories and stuff, which was great because I've never seen him do this stuff,
I think he's still in a beef with Dave Grohl because of that.
I think.
Because,
That's right. Yeah.
Shit ended up on YouTube.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
I think he usually likes to mask that stuff in his lyrics with lots of oblique strategy style lyric writing, but it's peppered with some kind of zingers. But but anyway, but I just to bring it back to my black hole of me, that I think that for the biggest challenge for me is to shift gears from trying to release joy pheromones during performance to something that's not so blatantly joyful, and something that maybe brings joy but as in a default sort of way, and that it's or inadvertent way, and that what we're putting out there is some kind of we're filing a complaint. and as much as Buzz hates protesters, I feel like his large, I shouldn't speak for him.
Well, sure, yeah.
But I would say that,
to be fair, protesters can be annoying. Anyway, moving on.
I'm speaking in vague generalizations, but I feel like, but I feel like in many ways, the general vibe that we're peddling is we're filing a complaint. And
yeah.
And so, and so those are different vibes to shift into, and to be yourself in the middle of all that, and then know that there's certain people that are gonna love to get their opinion out there about how you are missing the mark or how you don't belong, and all that stuff is can be tricky business. And but so whatever, I finally have I feel like I've come to a place where I would say I'm most comfortable that since I've been starting this, and then this last year has been a punishing tour schedule, I would say.
Oh, it's been crazy how much you've been playing. Yeah, it's nuts.
It's quite punishing, but it's ended. It was essentially uneventful in terms of like drama and things like that, and it was I came so I'm looking forward to next year's worth of work.
Right, you're not burnt out. You're not. Yeah. So it's well, and what you're speaking about too is sort of like with Redd Kross is more like a cathartic joy kind of thing, and the idea is you're portraying the same kind of emotion, but the catharsis is going to be different. Like it's going to be powerful in a different way.
I mean, yeah, there's an expression going on, and all of it's authentic. You're conjuring a different part of your psyche, I think. I mean, not to get too highfalutin, but and it's just for human beings, it's just I find for myself that there's always a little bit of a challenge to not slip into self-consciousness.
Right, because there's
or a negative voice,
Well, and especially because
you can join that choir of like, oh, bring back so and so, and then you're like, what am I, and this isn't me, and you can go into all that sort of stuff, like you were saying, Mama. Buzz doesn't do anything he doesn't want to do, and it's like, okay, right, yeah, he's beholden to no one, he's the boss, and then you're on stage, and sometimes you might actually have a no first thought about something that's on the agenda, but it's like that's not really your place to say, and so you got to figure out if you can do this your own way and be comfortable, or see what the deal is, and so it's filled with all sorts of interesting, especially someone that was never. I think that I'm a natural sort of fair guy, egalitarian, but I didn't play on sports teams. I'm not used to, I was always in my own band, I was co-leader of my own band. And that was my major socialization process. And so it's been a little bit of an interesting ride, and to try to keep it simple in the middle of all of it is something I'm still learning how to do.
Well, and speaking to the earlier point too, it's like you have a role to play that's part of a larger whole, and so what you're doing is you're trusting the articulated vision.
Player or not, yeah,
right. Well, exactly, and I think it probably does come easier if you're like a sports person or something. Like, oh, this is the utility infielder.
Playing the expression about team playing,
right,
thrown around.
But it is something where I think you've done a fantastic job personally of taking what you do and putting it into the framework of what the band needs, and in some cases bringing different parts of songs that I've seen in other lineups that kind of hits a little different now. That's cool. Like there's something here that I never thought about that part specifically, but like now I'm thinking about it because he's playing it this way, and that's very much along the lines of the overall raison d'etre of the band, which is this constant always different, always the same. Change and evolution and kind of an ebb and flow and things along those lines that has been I would say probably one of the secrets of the band's longevity, right? Because it's always going to be interesting and cool. And then there's always going to be people like, oh, I like the older thing better. Okay, well, I don't know what to tell you.
It's like that, that's probably part of human nature.
And I think so, and especially the world of the commentariat, people jumping in thinking like their comments are important, and almost exclusively they aren't.
Well, I understand. I mean, as you can see, I can't stop talking. So I definitely can't fault anyone for wanting their opinion to matter. And, it's just when you're on the receiving end of the negative voice, it's like, oh no, you don't understand. I just spent 10 minutes meditating trying to get rid of that voice.
Right. The voice that was like the same, saying the same things, but somehow meaner. I did this show for, I think, like 7.5 years before I put it on YouTube, something along those lines. And that was the first time there ever was really comments. And yeah, like, and there's people suddenly yelling about this guy's a terrible laugh, like whatever this, everyone, I'm like, my laugh, like that's not even something I can control. Like, F you, dude. I like to laugh, you know?
I don't remember what I read. It was in a book. It was like someone talking about their father had said, what other people's opinions are of you is none of your business. And geez, I wish I had a dad like that that put that together. But son, what they think is none of your business. But
Right.
yeah, I mean that's just good. It's hard to not be affected by these things. If
You don't want to internalize it.
Or, how you were, your level of adjustment to the human experience. And,
Well, and it does weirdly come from a place of like they care. Like, I'm not going to say it comes from a place of love because that's not necessarily true, but like it comes from a place of there's a deep affinity and engagement, and because of that,
to be valued, I suppose.
Sure. It's just that like sometimes it'd be like that. Can you at least be funny? Like can you try? Like if you have to. But it also, it's easy to critique things too, man. It's the easiest thing in the world, and that's like the way the world is like built up now, and it's a fine balance. And also, I mean, ultimately, we're governed by the comment section. Like, in all facets of things these days now,
I just think about the comment section in my own head,
which is brutal, by the way. My comment section is like, oh my God, I can't believe they would say that. But, yeah.
The war in my head, I think we all have that. And so that's why it's particularly difficult in this modern era that especially those of us that put ourselves into this particular portion of these spaces, so to use an expression, but that we are subjected to the comment section of other people's heads.
and I feel like something I'm very good at now that I used to be very bad at is that someone could give you like 100 lavish, wonderful compliments in a row. And, this is so wonderful. I'm so glad you do this. It means so much, blah, blah, blah. And then one person that's just like, you shouldn't. And like something just like insanely dismissive. And like, that would be like, well, what does that freaking guy mean? Like, what's his problem? Like, why has he got to say that? And this is something I've like the process of letting go.
And that's where you take away from it more than anything else.
It's like those 100 people that said something nice. Nope, never happened. It's just one guy.
It's back to being an inside job, because the thing is, it's like and I think all creative people are vulnerable to needing a little encouragement. And so I wrestle with that. Like, what's wrong with encouragement? I think that's a good thing. But then if you lean into it so much that you need outside validation, that you're also very vulnerable to outside criticism. And then it can just really poison the whole thing. And so that's why, it's my goal, or my obviously, which I'm exposing as my unique challenge, is to try to find it within. And it's not always easy. That's why I talk about my nervous system a lot.
Yeah. And that's your process. But from the outside, it seems like you've got a lock on it. Yeah. You know who you are. You know what you do. You're confident in it. Like, you don't, it's
47 years of doing that. That's what that is. That's good practice.
Well, good. I mean, I guess you should be at that point, right? But you never know. I mean, there's people I know.
I guess it's also hopeful, as I was saying, if you can relate to the crazy shit I'm talking about, psychobabble, but you haven't been doing it for 47 years. Well, just wait, because and at some point you might still feel it, but no one else will know.
Right. And that's the top of the mountain, right? Yeah. I want to go back a little bit, because we were talking about, you and Jeff and the whole dynamic with being as brothers and whatnot, which leads me to think of one of my other favorite brothers in music and rock and roll, which is the Sparks Brothers.
Oh yeah.
And as long as you guys have been doing that together, it's like those guys, that has to be like the longest running brothers in creativity partnership in rock, at least with the amount of prolificness and career up and downs that you can think of. And I believe last time you were on, I think it was on air, I kind of punish you a little bit about, all right, tell me everything about being in Sparks. Tell me everything like about how these guys were, because they're one of my favorite bands, right? And it was like, and it occurred to me when you when you started up playing with them, which was I guess about 20 years ago at this point, right? Like, I mean, that's got to be like,
well, yeah, it was 2000. It was like
20 years ago.
2005. It's true.
I remember just being like, oh wow, what a great choice. What a great choice to have playing in that band, because one of the things that I found, like, there's kind of a brattiness to Sparks, you know, even when it's like super like big pomp and circumstance, it's like somehow still kind of bratty. Compliment intended. And but then I was thinking about, you know, the Come On to My House stuff and like that era, like the big ostentatious like glam presentation, you know, amateur hour, you know, talent as an asset, stuff like along those lines, and be like, oh man, Steven's perfect for that. Like that's like his like love language right there. You know, this is great. And I don't remember. So how did it come playing with the Mail Brothers? How did that come about? Because and here's something, by the way, my internal problems when I have someone on and I don't have them on for a long time and I can't remember what we talked about last time. I get worried about repeating myself. And here's the thing: nobody cares. Nobody cares but me. But I worry about it because I'm like, oh, I don't want it to be boring.
I'll try not to tell the same story like 10 times like Paul McCartney or something.
Right.
I don't know.
It wasn't even the best drummer in the Beatles. Okay, sure, Paul. Settle down.
It was a combination of Dean Menta and Roddy Bottom, who both from Faith No More. Dean was the guitar player for a period, and Roddy is a founding member. And
they did that record, right? They did that record together.
Yeah, and they just had known them forever. And Roddy had been a Sparks fan since the '80s, I'm sure. And but they had jammed also, but they did they were part of a Sparks tribute album. Faith No More had been, and then but Sparks were they went. There was this period where they did like an EDM record. They always like are challenging themselves and
right
themselves to the deep end and playing some other new form of
because it was like the somehow more discoed out #1 song in heaven on that, right, where it's like already pretty discoed out, but it's like, oh no, this is like this is
they did a record. They did a record in the early 2000s called Balls, which was like like a house music album.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot.
And the album, but when they toured it or how they played it was just as a 3-piece. So it was just Ron Russell and then a drummer on the drummer was playing Tammy I think was touring with them then, but Tammy Glover. But they were touring with she had electronic drums even. So it was just a very electronic thing. It wasn't a rock and roll 70s Come On to My House vibe at all. And there was no bass player at all. But then they had been invited by Morrissey himself to come play a festival in the UK called The Meltdown, and which was back in the early 2000s when they didn't book festivals, they curated them.
Yeah, right. Oh, please, we're curating. Let me adjust my monocle here. Yeah.
Morrissey was curating, and he had made a special request. Sparks with all of Come On to My House, and Sparks, who were never one to be, they were like, nostalgia would have been like to them like garlic to a vampire or whatever. Right. They would recoil from the idea of her being viewed as nostalgia act, and I think now they've loosened up and they don't really care anymore because they know that their creative output speaks for itself and they can just continue to do what they want. And then they can also throw in old tunes when they play. But at the time, it was uncommon for them, but they were convinced by Morrissey to play all of Come On to My House. So they put together a full 5-piece rock band to do that in authentic whatever classic way, and I got to be in that. And I think part of the thing that got me in the band more than anything was that I had a Rickenbacker bass, like the bass player did. I'm forgetting his name right now on Come On.
From that record. Yeah, I don't remember his name either, but
just that really cool, like the ballsy kind of Rickenbacker that's got a little hairy, and so I learned how to play that whole album. And then they also played their I think by the time I played with them, they were had done little Beethoven, and so they were
Right.
so they would did all the little Beethoven, and then they did all Come On Out My House, and I got to be in the band for that album at the Festival Hall in London, and then Morrissey didn't even show; he wasn't there. I got to see
Classic.
their reaction firsthand to that too. They were just like, "Oh, he's not here."
Yeah.
But I understood it was offensive. Like he asked them to do this thing that was like clearly, it's like asking him to, play a Smiths album or something. Maybe not as
Right.
loaded as that, but and they, put their emotional reaction aside and said, okay, we're gonna do this one, and then he was like in the Bahamas or something.
Wow. Yeah.
But whatever. It turned out to be a very cool thing because that was the beginning of a new sort of a direction for them, and they were inspired by playing in a turned up rock band, and I think it kind of led them down some other paths for a while, and now, I mean, that band it's been fun to watch their story unfold where like,
Especially post-documentary where people kind of like had a new, like, oh yeah, these guys. Okay.
yeah,
Wow.
and they put out a record every couple of years, and then I think it's the record, maybe the last one too, like their records like chart in the mainstream charts in the UK now.
Yeah.
And they even have charted here, and and when I first saw them touring for Balls, they were, they played at the Key Club in LA to have full Key Club, and it's the ebbs and the ups and downs, and it's, old showbiz story, but like back to that topic I was saying about it's hard to not seek encouragement, and sometimes you look for it. Comment section. It's like these are two guys that have really just they find it in them. I speculate that they find that will to carry on in face of overwhelming discouragement that comes from within, and it's seems to be some kind of limitless well for them. And at times when I was playing with them, I thought they were a little crazy. And now as I get older, I realize no, they were on to something. And I need to be able to tap into some of that within myself as well. So I actually find a lot of inspiration from their story.
Oh, likewise. I mean, and that's, something along the lines of, what was the, all that on a steady drip, 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 which is, I guess that was 5 years ago. Jesus.
Yeah, that's nothing for last.
Yeah. And I was like, this is like one of my favorite songs they've ever written. Like, it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. And it's like, wow. How many bands can you say that when it's like, all right, this is record number, Christ, I don't even know how many number of records that came out.
5 or 6 or 7. I don't know.
And it's still killing it, And like, there was that great, the song that had the video, the girls crying her latte, right? Like, and it was like, oh, that's awesome. He just like, yeah, let's call on Cate Blanchett to just be cool in a video. Great. Okay. Yeah. Why not? Why shouldn't you? Oh, wonderful.
Well, I mean, it's the amazing thing about at this point, they have all these, their fan club is quite, fab.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's wonderful. And it just reminds me of so it's what is the tagline in the Edgar Wright documentary is like your favorite man's favorite band, right? Something along those lines. And I was like, that's kind of true if you stop and think about it, because everybody wants to be that, which is like constantly making cool stuff, changing, evolving, not like losing your internal compass, and yeah, just riding the crest of if you really love making music and being in a band and doing all these things, and it's like well, it's hard to freaking argue for that's the top of the mountaintop. The fact that they're actually getting some respect outside of their super fans, myself included, is like amazing. That's wonderful.
Yeah, that they're continuing to find new audiences, and because it's hard to get any traction and much less momentum. And
yes,
at
it is.
any age, in a business that is very youth obsessed, and historically speaking, that's the audience, are young people. And so it makes sense that the business side has been very focused on finding young people to sell, um, to make things to sell to young people,
Yeah.
and all that just makes total sense. So it's not about like it being evil and messed up. It's just like, it's kind of the way of things. And so they have found another path into being in this crazy business of show. And and so it's inspiring for the other misfits to watch, and maybe they're going to lead us astray because they're a one in a million thing. But
Right.
I don't, whatever. We all get to be our own one in a million thing. Here's my Pollyanna Paul Stanley hat coming on. I don't know. But,
Well, because it's also like, it's not about the framework of following the exact steps that a person takes. Like, you shouldn't try to like be.
well, you
David
never
Bowie.
could, I guess, because
Yeah.
it's true individuals, and you kind of just have to tap into your version of that, I guess.
And that's something that, when I've been asked advice from like really younger bands about stuff, that's why you should say, like, find out what makes you, and just really lean into that and do that. And you may not even know what it is at first, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But just like be okay with that being part of the process. And I feel the same thing. I've said the same thing about people that come to me about like podcasts and stuff. It's like, don't try to do what other people are doing. That's a waste of time. Find out what you're doing that's uniquely you, that only you can do, and that's what you should be doing. And people don't want to hear that. They want to hear about like well, how do you set up this for this feed? I'm like, okay, none of that matters. Like, this is easy. That's easy stuff. And you can find out in like 2 minutes on YouTube these days, right? But it's like, no, it's like what you're putting out there should be something worthwhile. And that's something that everybody wants instant success, or at least instant,
Well,
creativity.
what the formula is.
Yeah, and it's like there isn't a cheat code. You have to. Sorry, you got to figure it out yourself.
Cliff notes. We want to know. We want it
Yeah.
explained to us. I mean, I get it. I do that too. I don't always want to read the news and figure out where I stand on it. I'd rather just get a podcast by someone I trust and have them sort of explain it to me. Like, oh, right, okay, yeah,
Yeah, it's this, right? Yeah.
and that's my specific. And then I think about the George Harrison song, "Think for Yourself," because I will be there with you.
Yeah.
And that motherfucker, he was 24 when he.
Yeah, I know. What an a-hole.
Like,
It's like, you bastard.
I'll never be profound. I'll never get to something on my own that's unique. But just whatever. I get it. It's all But I guess it always comes down to you're saying what is uniquely you. But the other thing is, but you say when you're young, you might not know, and it's like I kind of find that to be
or even bristle against it. Like, think like, oh, I need to stop doing this because this isn't the thing that you do, right?
Well, then, you need to innovate, and figure out what is out of your comfort zone and what could possibly work for you. How what are the parameters that are you, and how rigid are those? And that's one of the things that, like, for instance, I was like went on for a good amount of time talking about my experience in the Melvins. I mean, constantly like trying to figure out, okay, how would I go about doing what's being asked of me? And so, I mean, it's one of the good things about not always being the boss. You're trying to figure out what is you in all different environments. You're not just always in your comfort zone.
Well, and the ship isn't necessarily going to sink if you like lose sight of it for a second. So you can actually just focus on what you're doing instead of,
Yeah. And figure out how to get comfortable with rather than I have to do this. Like, then you figure out, oh no, that's part of something that I do, and I'm comfortable with that. And so there's another facet of who you are that's been revealed, I suppose. And that's a constant thing, I think. And for those of us that are open to these lofty ideas. Of,
Right. Exactly. Which I got to say, most of the people that listen to the show, it's extremely their vibe. But like some people are like, "What? Why would you even think about that?" It's like, all right, never mind.
Yeah,
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, I always think about the negative voice in my head as like psychobabble asshole, and I think about what this guy like.
But there's nothing wrong with a little internal critical thinking as long as it doesn't get too cruel. Because it is also something, it's easy to be. There's no worse critic than the one that lives inside your head, right?
Well, I mean, it just seems like it's part of the human experience, and that we need to figure, and how you mediate between these different forces is that's what counts. And then often, like I said, we're doing this on stage or in some kind of creative space where the adrenaline is running, quite intensely. And so I always think of the Charles Bukowski quote that it's how you walk through the fire that counts. What's really revealed about your nature is, how you react to these stressful situations is one way in which you can garner information to work on, or you can learn and you can pat yourself on the back. Maybe, or whatever, and it's a barometer of where you are at the current moment. And but sometimes I'm just like, I make plans for the future with my bands, and then I'm like, and then dread
and you got to do it.
Forward to things, but also I know that there's stressful times ahead too. And I'm thinking like, there's going to be lessons that I'm going to have to learn some lessons, and how am I going to react to that when the time comes? And is that going to be, am I going to be regretful? Am I going to feel confident that those decisions were made well? And what lessons am I going to learn, and how painful are they going to be? And it can fill me with dread. And then I'm like going, leading up to the time of having to do whatever's making me anxious, and thinking, why do I do this?
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's, I again, that's the thing that a lot of people on the show hate and turn it immediately back on myself. But, that happened a couple times for us on tour this year. And the phrase that kept coming back to my head is smooth seas do not make for skillful sailors.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. Smooth seas do not make for skillful sailors. Skillful sailors. Okay. I was trying to repeat it.
Yeah. It was like it's some maritime thing or something. I was like, oh, that's good.
I like that.
That's really good.
Aiming to be skillful sailors. I like the nautical approach, and it's true. But and you can try to control for smooth seas, but there's a weather that's out of your
things
hand.
that will never be in your control. And what you can do is you can control how you react to things, but you cannot control everything.
I mean, that's how I kind of mentioned at the start of the tour, how was the tour? Well, it was uneventful. So like that's the best.
That's a win. Yeah.
That's a boring, uneventful. The seas were pretty smooth,
smooth seas,
if they weren't, they were planned for as best as you could. And that, and those plans did help to mitigate whatever could have been challenging. When I pick my kid up from school, often the conversation, he's 16, so he's in high school, and we kind of have this dynamic, and maybe it's something I've taught him, and also how was it? He'll say uneventful, and I'll take that as okay, great. So there's no big shot of cortisol where you had a challenge and had to deal with some BS or school stuff that stressed you out, but mostly I'm just thinking about the social, part of it. And, but I mean, I guess that can seem like a boring kind of like way philosophy in life or just kind of, are somehow guarded too,
Sure. Yeah.
To not want surprises.
Let's get real. Most surprises are not good. Most surprises are tend to be bad.
That's for sure. They usually feel like
it's not like, hey, here's $10,000. Oh, great, thank you. That was a surprise. That doesn't happen. But more like any number of other things that 1,000. Like just the odds of getting together, a group of people getting together for a goal to do a thing, to go on a tour. The amount of elements that could go wrong in any aspect of so much of it. It's kind of a miracle that any of it happens at all, really, if you really get into the chaos theory of the universe and whatnot. And so it's wonderful. It's like, oh, uneventful. Great. Because the thing is, you're not looking at it in terms of a series of events. You're looking at it for a larger whole. It's like, no, we did the thing. We went out to play these songs. People came out to see us play the songs. We sold the merchandise. We went to the next place. It was good. Like, and but it is funny because when you think about like how the idea of a rock band is, it's everything has these huge moments. Oh, this is exploding, and this, the van, tumbled over 5 times, and it's like, I don't want any of that. That sounds terrible. Like I've dealt with like enough of that on my own. It's like, no, I don't. That's not what it's about. It's about like, you get in. You drive for a while, you get out at a truck stop, you pee, maybe you get a snack, then you get back in, you drive to the next gas stop, People don't want to hear that.
Part of, that's the wisdom of getting older and realizing that it's like, staying consistent is the most important part.
Yeah, these restrooms are nicer than these other restrooms. Like things. It's like, oh wow, that's really why I picked up a guitar. Okay.
Or you can have little arguments in the van about like, well, in Europe the restrooms are like always nicer, but you have to spend €1 to get into it.
Right, exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Then there's like toll roads and all that. Yeah, but it is fascinating to me, and it's something that especially I think folks such as yourself that have done that for as long as you have, starting at such a young age, I think there's a lot of wisdom there, especially coming from a position of, people coming up and touring in the cell phone age, where it's like, oh no, this is wildly different now. Like I remember first tour I went on, like, first of all, we had a cell phone that we could only turn on after 5 p.m. We could only talk for like 5 minutes at the time. No stereo in the van, by the way. So it's just we had this stuck with our own company and like road games and something along those lines. And even then, like I knew, I was like, oh, we have it easy compared to, like what like Black Flag was up to and you guys were up to. And we still used an atlas, right? GPS wasn't even a thing. And because of that, I still know how to use an atlas, which is great. It's mostly useless knowledge, but I still know how to do it.
You use an A to Z, Conan? Are you not that much of a Luddite?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
well, A to Z, that's the European one, but like we find the coordinates.
Yeah, and you can calculate it out.
Yeah.
I mean, I was never lucky enough to go to Europe. I still have not been.
Well, I could never imagine navigating an A to Z like in London, like it's like a cat. It's
unless you're a cartographer or something.
Sears catalog, and it's but yeah, the atlases and that stuff. I mean, I'm a map nerd, and it's from I am a legitimate geography nerd, and it probably stems from travel trauma.
Well, sure, because you're like, oh no, this highway's out now. Like, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna get around this? Like whatever.
Yeah.
Or you get the one like like your atlas isn't up to date, and it's like, oh no, they've.
The person that's been deemed navigator is dyslexic, but it hasn't been diagnosed yet. And
oh no!
East instead of west and things like that.
Oh man. Anyway, a little bit of a derivation, but it is interesting how different touring is now. Like with everybody has their GPS on, so people can be backseat drivers without being annoying about it. Okay, great. Good.
Yeah, the feature comforts are much easier to get, and that does make it's easier on the brain, because that's part of the challenge with touring is that it's this, I don't know what metaphor to use. It's like a moving locomotion, and it's like a locomotive engine or whatever. And it's like, and then it doesn't stop. But even if you like dropped your crystal deodorant and you can't find another one in the middle of the Midwest, it's like, well, then everyone's just you have to stink in front of everyone.
Yeah, I guess that's what's happening.
A weird example, but you just, but then you make a note to yourself, oh, I need to get this, and you keep thinking about it, that it's somehow going to, it's part of, just your sanity. And then, but it's hard to get these things sometimes, but back in the old days, forget about it. That was,
it's gone.
If you lost something,
forget it.
Getting it back.
There's no way.
A new one, just you now live your life without you have to be a less encumbered philosopher, and from that point on, and until you get home, and then you can. But now there's millions of ways.
Yeah, stop at a Target, great.
Yeah, God forbid, but
pick up a Crystal Sick deodorant, like a Johnny Cash T-shirt. Great. What a time to be alive. Yeah.
Whatever the Jeff Bezos, I can even call Amazon.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk about. Is Melvins your first experience playing with two drums? Not two drums, as in two drums in a drum set, but two drummers playing at the same time. Yeah.
Well, not the. Excuse me. I was in a band called Tusk. They had a drum set, and then like a live, like a very involved. I think I was a percussionist and
an adjunct percussion area.
Yeah, I was sort of Butthole Surfer style.
Okay.
So standing drummer, and so I played drums in a two drummer band actually.
Okay. Well, so
us,
yeah.
With which was a little bit of like it was like a super group of sorts. I think Pat Smear was in Tusk sometimes.
It sounds familiar. Why am I'm trying
to? But yeah, it was yeah, and we were inspired by it, which was a drum focused song. We were inspired by the Fleetwood Mac song Tusk.
Yeah, of course, yeah, that makes sense.
Which we played Tusk live, and but it had a lot of the people from the Love Dolls, Desperate Teenage Love Dolls films in it, with their underground art films that I was in as a teenager. And playing with Melvins in recent year I've never played with like muscly, actually very professional drummers, muscly. But I mean like playing
I know what you mean.
A muscly style, like powerful two drummers like Cody and Dale. And I think this is technically my first time doing it. So I got a second amplifier for tour. So if we had a second drummer, then I'm going to need two amplifiers. So I get to turn it up even louder.
Right. Exactly.
That's the main difference for me.
Very, very pleasing. Yeah. Well, I mean, just like how that the tour with Jeff Pincus too, right? Like with two basses.
Oh yeah, we had two bass players,
which is wild.
But that was but that's sort of different because it's like in some ways I feel like the playing with two drummers has made my role larger because I got a second bass amp and then, but with this two bass players, it was almost like you to actually be a team player. Back to that expression, you kind of had to make space for the other bass player, or it was just going to, at least for my anal, weird, controlling brain. It's like I wanted it to make some kind of musical sense. So if anything, I probably turned it down. And
you got Pincus playing the way he plays, which is very, unique. Like,
he's got his own. Definitely has very much his own style, and but I think we figured out how to complement each other. But I mean, I think I spent a lot of time up on a high octave playing like a.
I remembered you went real. Yeah, you kind of went high. You followed Michelle Obama. When they go low, we go high.
Yeah, I did that because he would hit the pog a lot, which is not just his like heavy electrical guitar bass,
but the sub kind of
octaves and more octaves below that. So I was like, okay, that's your approach to doing teamwork. Okay, so I'll find my space somewhere.
I guess I'll go up here. I don't know. I mean,
I got my trusty Warlock that has like a million octaves.
Yeah. No, it's great, but it's such a different. And then it's interesting when it's like, okay, these are, in some cases the same songs, but how you engage with them, how you play with them has to change because of
with the two drummers.
Yeah.
It's really just a sonic blast because they're such a force. Yeah. And I don't know. And for me, it's really just kind of coinciding with like, slowly feeling like there's a natural comfort zone within the whole thing. It wasn't like there's nothing artificial about it. It wasn't like we all got together 10 years ago and did a bunch of cocaine with each other partied and bonded, and then like you felt like,
We need two drummers, man. We gotta have two drummers.
These are your brothers, but that's like such like a shaky ground in which to feel comfortable with other people because it's not real. And so we had to do it like the real way, which was like fun but awkward at times, and kind of like and then slowly you one day you realize, oh, I don't feel awkward anymore. I feel like a very small amount of time I don't feel any more awkward here than I would in my own environment, or the same amount of time. And, because I mean, I think back to actually on that Jeff Pincus tour, which was like the second tour we did, there was one moment. Here I am fixating on these. I'm back to the
hyperfixation. Yeah.
I'm back to the comments section.
Yeah.
It's so shitty. But we were in Minneapolis one night. And in Minneapolis, I always thought of as like a little bit of a challenge because it was, it's where Amphetamine Reptile is, which is, that's Tom Hazelmeyer's label, and it's sort of like a second home for the Melvins.
Right.
And in many ways, it's like it's a Melvin stronghold, and so I really want to do well. It's like playing in Seattle, and then in Minneapolis, it's like right up there, and I was still trying to get in my footing, figuring out like which octave do I play in with the two bass players.
Yeah.
I'll play a third and go for like a Thin Lizzy thing.
Right. Sure.
And try to figure it all out. And I remember I was having a good night on stage at the First Avenue, which is also for me, I'm been
legendary
enough to know like I've been a bridesmaid in that room many times, an opening band, but like to be part of the headliner act and. Not to say that I'm the headliner, but
being a part of that. Yeah, like they used to have a thing that the small room 7th Street Entry, if you played there, then they would let you see the show at First Avenue. And so I played 7th Street Entry in my old band Replicator. It was a fine show. It was a good show. And then Sleater-Kinney was playing in the main room. I was like, oh, fantastic. Like, this is really cool. And then it was like this legendary venue. It's like, all right, I'm not playing it, but it's kind of cool being at this show that like, tangentially I was like the sidecar of the motorcycle on this while this show happened. It's like it's a historical place. It's awesome. So you're playing.
Friends shot Purple Rain.
Purple Rain, yeah,
and whatever. So, but we were playing, and it was like we're in the last third of the show, and it had gone well, and I was feeling finally like okay, all the different. Areas of the show that could be difficult to execute are done, and I felt like I walked through the fire well tonight and feeling really comfortable. Then all of a sudden, out of the blue, it seemed almost like I had an aneurysm. I didn't know what happened, and I was totally caught off guard, and by a blinding experience that I was like, "Whoa, what was that?" It's almost like you got shocked by 240 volts of refined current, alternating current, and then I see on the ground was like the remains of it, and I had been a face planted with an entire full can of beer. A full can of beer, and it connected directly with my face in the middle of performing, and I was stunned. I didn't know it. I was like, whoa. And then it's there on the ground, and I'm thinking, what do I stop? What do I do? And what the fuck? And then the voice in the head is like, just keep playing. No one's watching you. Just keep going. Keep going. And then I think I probably give a half-hearted fuck you, and then went back to doing my job, and I just kept going. And, and then later on I had this horrible, and so the show didn't stop. We just kept moving. No one else in the band saw it, and I didn't know. And then later on I was so pissed off at myself for not like sticking up for myself more. And,
right. But hindsight's 20/20 too. It's also like you're in the moment. You've got a job to do. You know what I mean? Like
it speaks to where I was in the process. I was a year into it, and suddenly I was trying to find my place within like the bass landscape of this band.
Right. Sure.
And so it was complicated. And like now I know that if a motherfucker tried to do that to me while I was on stage with the Melvins, I definitely would not think twice about like, trying to sort it out in the moment.
Yeah, get that guy out of here. You know,
it was a hostile attack, and whether or not you would have any luck at getting that person out, because maybe that person, no one else saw who did it, and it could be a fruitless endeavor trying to root them out. But at the same time, the public experience of sticking up for yourself, there's something to be said for it, because if you don't, it's going to haunt you.
You're going to regret it later. Yeah.
Later, you're going to think like, oh God, what a fucking, like, it feels like public cowardice. And
people would narc him out. They'd be like, that guy, it's that guy, you know, and it's a guy.
It's like, oh, it's like you're instantly transported back to 6th grade, and someone just like humiliated you on the playground, and then you didn't stick up for yourself, but you were thinking in the moment, like, just be professional and just keep your head down, do your work. But at the same time, it's like, I'm a human being too, and I need to be okay with my gut reaction to things. But whatever, once again, that speaks back to the whole thing of like knowing when you plan something ahead, and then you're thinking about all the different things that are going to happen. How am I going to react to that, and whether or not I'm going to learn a painful lesson or not. I definitely learned some kind of painful lesson that night, but also there was nothing I could have really done about it until I gotten further into my experience in the band, and so it's just sometimes
there's maybe it could have gone the other way. You know, maybe you make a big production of it and get like the dude kicked out or whatever, and then like, oh, maybe I overcompensated. Maybe it's not like there's not any way to win in that situation, right? It just sucks that happened.
But just like learning a little bit more about yourself and what you would have needed to do to feel, like that you were true to yourself, and because I think one side of me is I'm a very professional person, so that is true to myself too, to keep stay on track and that. But I think that but when it comes down to what I do on stage, it's really kind of trying about like be myself and make a connection. Right. And if I am somehow not able to totally embrace what that is, then it's still not entirely, I'm not making the connection that I'm most comfortable with. And I mean, the only thing is say, like, it all comes down to, what you're comfortable with. And I just said in time, I've gotten, I've said it a million times now, but it sounds like maybe I'm just trying to talk myself into believing it. But no, but it's true. It's like, and also, I think there's nothing you can really do about it other than just sticking with something longer. Mm-hmm. Time makes that,
and you have to be okay with, letting the tiger be part of the show, as the old aphorism goes, right? Where it's just like it's how it went. Just find a way to reconcile it.
And some people can, and some people don't hold on to these things. They let them go quickly.
Yeah. It sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah. Others,
that must be very freeing for them.
I have to talk myself into just being less analytical, and I dumb it down. Dumb it down, dude.
Yeah. Oh, people love. Yeah, the dumber the better. People love it.
Dumb it down to myself.
Yeah. I mean, look, whatever gets you through, right? Real briefly, you mentioned the what do you call it? The movie. Was it Desperate Teenage Love Dolls, right? Yeah. Which reminded me that on some of these movie nerd forums that I'm on, people kind of a group of people I know like discovered Spirit of '76. Uh-huh. Is Lucas Reiner, right? It was like Lucas, the director of that.
Lucas Reiner, the other son of Carl Reiner,
right? And it's got Jerry and Mark from Devo in it. Actually, isn't Carl Reiner into The Old Man?
Lucas wrote it and directed it.
Yeah.
And then it's got this cast.
David Cassidy, you guys.
David Cassidy, Olivia Dabo from the Wonder Years. I forget who's been in. And then all these like wonderful character actors. And then, but also, other star-studded cameos by also Rob Reiner has a cameo.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Barbara Payne has a cameo. And, Julie Brown, the MTV comedian. And,
Oh yeah, I forgot about Julie Brown because I haven't seen it in a while, and I was like, oh, I kind of want to see that again. Like when I saw it, it was like not that long ago after it came out, and I was like in high school and stuff, and like I was like, oh wow, this is wild. Like everyone's in this movie. Like this is great. It's got time travel. It's got Devo. It's got everything I need. Right? But I didn't. But it was one of those things where I was like, oh, I would like to like look at that now. I'd like to watch it now, which I think it's streamed on like a bunch of things, but
it's on YouTube.
Is it on YouTube? Okay, cool. So
Spirit of 76.
How did that come to pass? Like, it's such a crazy project.
Well, I just talked about this Desperate Teenage Love Dolls. So we made these films with our friends Dave Markey and Jennifer Schwartz. And when I was like 16 and 17, they were, and we did that on Super 8. And there's two of them. There's Desperate Teenage Love Dolls and Love Doll Superstar. And it's
right.
It chronicles the story of an all-female rock band. And
which to me always seemed like an homage to Valley of the Dolls, Beyond the Valley of the Dolls.
Sure, it's like a punk rock DIY Valley of the Dolls. It's also like Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. It's kind of like a Russ Meyer film, a John Waters film, little SNL, SCTV.
DIY. Just watched the John Candy documentary last night, by the way.
I want to see that.
It's very good and very sad.
I
don't want to derail the conversation, but like literally, that's like the last thing I saw before going to bed. So.
I'm looking forward to watching that.
Yeah.
But then, anyways, that caught the eye of a young film producer by the name of Roman Coppola.
Oh yeah, Roman. Yeah.
And his father had, I think, sort of gifted him a film studio.
Yeah, I think his father did something, right? He's like
his father. You may have heard of him.
Yeah, I may have heard of him.
He's a winemaker,
young up and comer. Hey, he makes some wine. Yeah, that's what I hear. It's good.
You might know him from like the wine aisle at your local Kroger's.
Has he done anything else or just the wine? The wine's good. Yeah.
No, like things, but
couple two tree.
Yeah, so that's part of my crazy experience. That Redd Kross are this scrappy little band came up from the punk scene. Grew up, working middle class, suburban kids, and in Hawthorne, the suburb of LA. And but by the time I was in my early 20s, we were getting a phone call from the Coppola family. Yeah, because they were, and it turns out the teenage kids were fans of these films we had made, and they liked our band, and they were now being given the keys to the, to the Playhouse to put on their own show, and they were going to make a movie. And Roman was his first time producing, and he came up with the idea for the film, and he came up with who should write the film, and then eventually direct it. And then we were brought in early in the casting process because he was inspired by those Dave Markey films, the Love Doll films, and thought that we would be good people for the job. And basically the whole thing was that he was trying to model his film company after Roger Corman. And
that makes sense. Sure.
This like film company called Commercial Pictures. His father had come up in the Roger Corman stable, and Francis Coppola, and as a young director. And so the idea with Roger Corman was that you would make these films that were, low budget, but they would capitalize on some kind of trend or fad or a B movie on some level.
It's all cars. We're racing cars this time or whatever. Yeah.
Quality up in some level. And the idea is that you try to make more than you spent.
Yeah. Right. That was the watchword for Corman. That's for sure. Yeah.
I make 5 times as much as you spent. So,
but like Dante and Spielberg and like all these people that are famous directors, they kind of got their start working on Roger's studio.
Right. And so that's what Roman was trying to use as his model. And there was a film that had been a big hit at that time called Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Yep. And it was like 2 stoner dudes, and it's a time travel comedy, and people probably know it. And Roman just thought that Jeff and I could be his sort of Bill and Ted in his idea, which is the idea is that it's a sci-fi film about the future, in a post-apocalyptic society, America, that all the foundation of our democracy has been lost, and it's and that these time travelers need to go back to the birth of the nation to rediscover what was great about the country and rebuild from there. And so these time travelers set their
the 1776, but it screws up and they end up
wrong during the travel, and they end up in 1976.
Right.
And hilarity ensues.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they meet these two like bicycle kids, banana seat riding, bicycle riding teenagers that are sort of like their Bill and Ted. As their guides through this experience. And the main time traveler was cast as the actor was cast was David Cassidy, and Jeff and I were the the weird, cool underground rock and roll version of Bill and Ted.
Right.
And I tried to do obviously I've got the elongated, nasally California accent, but I really tried my best to do this surfer accent from my youth, which when I watch it now, I'm a little like, God, I'm overdoing it. And but
it's also acting in like a genre film, right? So exactly.
Dude, come on, dude, Mark Farner, all right.
and that's what everybody who is not from California thinks. Everybody from California sounds like anyway. So
no way, man.
Yeah.
No way. Oh, you think so, dude? It was also, what is it? Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Fast Times. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Right. But anyways, I'm sorry. That was a long.
No, well, I think it's interesting because like it's apparently finding resurgence. And I was in this conversation. I was like, yeah, it's great. I know a couple of people in it. They're like, what? I'm like, it's not. I mean, if you're in music, it's not that hard to believe.
Whoa, dude.
Dude.
Whoa, dude,
no way, man. Yeah.
But yeah, so that happened. And that, and it was crazy. And it was definitely something I dreaded. But then once I got into the swing of it, I enjoyed myself.
It's good. I mean, so I used to work at a video store, and that was a classic of like, it's like cult classics area, where it's like, this is like these movies are kind of nuts, but like, maybe not the highest budget ones in the world, but like they're really entertaining, or there's something kind of cool or, interesting about them.
I think that movie kind of holds up. Like
it does.
I hadn't seen it literally in decades. And obviously like, since I have a hard time dumbing it down in my own head, it was very hard for me to watch it for a long time. I'm sure way too self-conscious and leave my body. But they recently did a screening during this last 4th of July in Los Angeles at this really cool place called the Philosophical Research Center. And I went to it. We did a Q&A afterwards. And my 16-year-old son, Alfie, came even.
Oh, that rules.
Yeah, and it was fun. I had a really fun time watching it. I thought I was able to really enjoy the film as a whole more. And although Alfie correctly noted afterwards that I didn't need to worry about my Oscar speech. That,
yeah, the Criterion edition is still pending. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you don't need to worry about that. But
we'll see if it makes the next round. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But at the same time, it was just nice to enjoy the film as a whole and to see that. Yeah, it was cool to be a part of that, and there was some great stuff about it that I don't they don't feel misrepresent me as now or whatever.
Well, I can tell you there's some degree of a resurgence because people are finding like, oh, look at this crazy movie, Well,
it was a sold out screening for what that's worth. It's 4th of July. It's a great 4th of July watch. So maybe put that in your calendar now. Next 4th of July.
Next 4th of July. I'm ready, man. I'll be there.
And all your viewers.
Let's talk just very briefly about Off. Which R.I.P.
Well, I'm not in Off. Well, Off have broken up, but I haven't been in Off for almost a decade.
It's been a while, but
2019, so 6 years.
6 years, right?
Yeah.
Just for and again, we probably talked about this last time. I don't really remember, but that's something where I just remember being like, oh, Steve McDonald and Keith Morris are playing in a band together. That's neat. Like, okay, cool. I wonder what that's going to be all about. And lo, it was about that. And I thought that was the time period that you were playing in that band. That was great. I thought it did like the thing very well, and in a way,
decade. I played for them for like a whole decade.
Was it 10 years? Really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, from like 2009 to 2010 and 2019. Yeah, and it was great. It really got me back out playing live more. I'd kind of stopped. Right. What it did is it got me touring again. I had sort of retired from touring, extended tours like Redd Kross from 2006. Redd Kross went on a 10-year hiatus from 97 to 2006. And then after 2006, we would do like little 1-week things in Spain and then there, here and there. But with Off, they had a serious agenda.
Like we're
get in the van and be a band regardless of what age you were. And that was their initiative. And I was their first bass player. So I was sort of a founding member. And what I really did is because I had tried my hand at a bunch of different things besides being in a band. I mean, I never strayed from music, but I produced other people. I found ways to stay home. And, I did a bunch of different, I've worked for record labels and things like that. And then with Off, I was like, I guess I'm back in a touring band. Okay, let's
right.
Like maybe I like that better in now that there's cell phones or maybe also that's just kind of part of who I am. Maybe I'm a lifer and
you've come back around to it. Yeah.
And see and so that's really the major role it played in my life. That's the purpose it had for me. And then for them, for me being in their band, what that purpose, hang on,
your light go out?
My screensaver.
Mystify your mind.
It was a fit. The reason I was such an obvious fit, I don't know if it was my punk rock prowess on bass, because the punk rock bass player is like, it gets the least respect of any.
Oh, absolutely. Like of any musical genre, probably, if not ska.
No, it's the punk rock bass player. We're the Pits. But the fact that I was there when Keith started,
it made sense.
Part of the formation of the genre of like Southern California hardcore, the Black Flag was forging when I was 11 and 12, and Redd Kross opened for them a lot. So I was someone that had a front row seat to what Off was trying to sort of, stoke the fires of or not reinvent, but just kind of. They were it's like a seance. They were conjuring that spirit of the original Southern California hardcore sound, that first Black Flag EP. So yeah, that's how that happened. But I'd known Keith since I was 12 years old, and we hadn't always been in close contact, but we'd always maintained some kind of friendship. And then soon before Off started, I would see him a lot more out and about because we both were doing similar kind of stuff for our day jobs. I'd
see him like out at shows when we play LA all the time.
Yeah,
so
he's
Keith Morris again.
Okay. And we'd have a fun time. As you can see, we both can talk. So
that was one. I had him on the show. It was great, but it was one where it was like, all right, I need to get a word in edgewise here, which is usually not a problem I have, but. I love him to death. He's great. And then Dale filled in on tour on drums, right? And that was like pretty early on with you guys playing. And I'm trying to remember the order of events, but when we were tracking the first Conan Neutron, the Secret Friends record, they were doing Bases Loaded at the same time, if I remember correct. Oh, yes, I do. That is true. I can't tell you why I know that, though. Not on air. But, it seemed like that was something where, natural fit. Obviously, Dale's, in my opinion, one of the great living rock and roll drummers of our time. And that kind of beget this partnership that also has him playing in Redd Kross, which I don't think I've mentioned like the entire time. And then, not no shade to past Redd Kross drummers, but I think it's been intrinsic of this recent era of Redd Kross to have Dale bringing his incredible people don't realize he's a great power pop, big rock and roll drummer, not just like whatever Melvins do, which is great, which is something different entirely. And it's been great to hear that deployed in such a manner with these songs and the band. I think it works really well.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm glad you see that. Yeah, I agree. And yeah, because Dale is actually a very broad dude with very maybe for average Melvins fan, you might be surprised by his taste, but
yeah.
Or maybe not. If you're a true hardcore, that Dale, for instance, played young Neil Young in the Harvest Moon video. And one of the great ways he ended up in that slot was because he's such an intense Neil Young fan. And that's just whatever. Maybe that's not a surprise to a Melvins fan, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. Tip of the iceberg for how broad his interests are beyond the lion's share of what Melvins do.
Right, and I think that's something where there's certain kinds of Melvins fans that they care about this one thing and that's all they care about, and like whatever, that's fine. And there's certain people that are going to be more curious and kind of look at it as a more expanded universe or whatnot, and that's something where sometimes people only want the one thing from you. All right, well, at least they want the one thing. Cool.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah,
that's worse things in life, yeah. But it's also it's great hearing that to play. And I say to someone that's like I guess quote unquote more rock and roll myself. I'm someone that were rock and roller myself. I appreciate it. Deep appreciation. So that comes back to Redd Kross, and that you got a whole bunch of Redd Kross stuff happening in the spring 2026.
Yeah. Well, so when are you going to put this up?
Next week.
Okay. Well, so yeah, because we haven't announced it yet, but we've got spring 26 happening. We're doing a U.S. tour, but it's limited. It's just mostly the South and Southwest, and we're on our way out to a boat in Miami, boat leaving Miami, going to Cozumel, Mexico, and that is what the Little Stevens Underground Garage Cruise, their second annual. So we'll see how that goes.
Crazy, because he has a Sirius channel. I remember that where it's which is pretty good. Like it's I remember when I had that.
They've been nice to Redd Kross. They play us and stuff, and so we're gonna go be a part of their crazy cruise. And so we're touring out to that boat and back to California. And then, but also we're going to go to Australia in February or March, beginning of March, and play with the Hard-Ons, who Melvins fans will remember, who have
played one of the legs of the tour in May or June.
Played the third leg of a 9-week tour that we did in last spring into summer. It was
which like 4 of those weeks we were like a day ahead of you too, and I was like, man,
okay.
Would have loved to have seen some of these, which is why I'm glad I finally got to see you in Madison, because it was like, because I was like, I guess I'm just not going to see him this year. Like we were like freaking easy drive away, but otherwise occupied.
Melvins played so many shows.
With so many shows,
it was crazy. It was crazy, and it was cool, and but we played with the Hard-Ons,
right.
That was the Hard-Ons with Jerry A and vocals. But we're when we go down to Australia, Redd Kross is playing with the Hard-Ons with Tim from UMI, Tim Rogers from UMI, singing with them, and he is he's known everywhere, but he's really known in Australia. He's pretty mainstream down there, but and they've been playing with him as a singer for the last 4 years or so, and I'm excited for that because he's an old friend, and Redd Kross UMI back in the 90s, so it's going to be really fun.
Is it like when Sweet had 2 versions of the band? There was like the guitar player's version and the bass player's band. They played different regions at the same time. It's so Spinal Tap.
Well, no, because it's not 2 bands. It's the Hard-Ons. There's Blackie, who's been singer for all these years, but in recent years he decided he didn't want to be singing and playing guitar so much, and I've been seeking out singers to kind of just collaborate with.
That's cool. I like that.
That's neat. So I don't know who else has done it besides Jerry A and Tim Rogers, but I think they just kind of go back and forth. Sometimes Tim will do it, sometimes Blackie will do it now in Australia. But anyway, so that's happening for 2 weeks in the first part of March.
Nice.
So that's happening. Melvins are going back into the studio in January. So, and I could be wrong. There might already be something that's already that's being baked right now, but I know that there's going to be a new set of big band album we'll be making I think they kind of whatever 2 drummers album that we'll be making with Cody and Dale
Badass.
starting in January. So that's just the first part of the year. Then I know I don't know what else has been announced for Melvins, but I know there is some Melvins live activity in 2016.
There usually is. Yeah,
There always is.
it'll come out in its own time, and that's fine. Yeah, I still deeply want to have Melvins play Caterwaul at some point. I bring it up every year, but we'll see if that happens.
Hey, what?
Play Caterwaul, the thing that I throw with Reiner from Learning Curve Records in Minneapolis, and it's usually late May, but it's like early June this time. We'll see.
I see.
No,
where do you hold it? Is it different venues?
Yeah, there's a few venues. Big Business played it first year. Flipper played Brainiac. It's it's a thing. It's a fun thing. It's crazy. Again, I'm just going off the dome here, so I'll say that like it's interesting that this tour that Conan, Neutron, Secret Friends just did. I think there was somebody with a Caterwaul shirt at like every city we played, which is like, wow, this is like the South. Like, how do you know about this? This is crazy, but in a good way. It's like
That's
all right.
cool.
That's there's nothing wrong about that. Last thing I forgot to mention this when we were talking about. I guess what do we call it? The Red Album? Is that the?
Yeah, that's sort of like the unofficial thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, we definitely were trying to cultivate that, but
Yeah.
it doesn't say it on the album. But it
is the Red Album.
If people refer to it as the Red Album, they would think in their mind REDD album.
The Red Album, 2Ds. Yeah. Well, just like so the. All right, I'm gonna say it because it's not anything that's gonna get anyone in trouble. But Dwayne, who plays bass in my live band now, he also is an adjunct player and roadie for the Toadies, the band the Toadies.
Okay.
And they just did some shows with Stone Temple Pilots.
Okay.
To which the first question I asked was, "Didn't that singer die? Like, is that? Oh, that's weird." It's like, "Oh yeah, but they got this guy. He sounds just like so on and so on." I was like, "Oh, so not Weiland."
Yeah.
Nott, not Weiland. Scott Weiland, not Weiland. Anyway.
Oh, okay. That's deep.
It is deep, and honestly, it's probably a better written gag than a spoken aloud gag. But it wasn't prepared. It was right there. So yeah. So in this case, the Red Album would be 2Ds. That's where I was going with it. Then again, it's better written out. The Red Album, REDD.
Well, yeah, and then and back to the beginning of this conversation where we're talking about the Beatles. Yeah, I mean it's a self-titled double album.
Right.
No, it's just simply called Redd Kross, and then the cover art is it's just more than an obvious reference to another band's self-titled double album.
Yeah,
but
it all works. There's a version of Born Innocent on there. What was the thought process there?
Oh, with the song "Born Innocent" is that's a newish song. Like we had an album called "Born Innocent."
Born Innocent, yeah.
That's the name of our first full-length album.
So was it like tying it back to the beginning?
Innocent.
Yeah, was it like tying it back to the beginning, or did that song exist at that time?
The song came from the documentary that came out last year called "Born Innocent: The Redd Kross Story," and that song is.
I forgot about that. I didn't see it yet.
It's from the closing titles of the film, and then you can actually.
Okay, all right.
For anybody interested, there you can. I think it's like a streaming rental.
Yeah,
you can see it borninnocentfilm.com. Or maybe it's Redd Kross, Born Innocent, whatever. If you just type in Redd Kross, Born Innocent film, you're going to find a way to stream that film.
You'll figure it out eventually.
Still for a rental. I know that there's going to be a Blu-ray coming out. And we were also talking about the 6-hour Beatle doc.
Yeah.
There's like a 6-hour version of this documentary that's going to be available for purchase on Blu-ray
for the true heads. That's great.
In the first part of this coming year, so that's another part of the story. But the song "Born Innocent" that closes our self-titled double album is the closing credit theme song to the film. That we were sort of given the assignment to make a closing credit song for the film, and that kind of was the first song we ended up recording for the album, and it was
that's cool.
Like us telling our origin story in song.
And what's crazy is that somehow it sounded so familiar to me that I was convinced that was on that record for some reason. And I don't know why. Like I was just like, oh yeah, I know this one.
On the Born Innocent album.
Yeah. And I was like, no, it's not. I know. And I was like, oh, I guess it feels like it could have been. I don't know.
We're just trying because it's really that the filmmaker had called his film Born Innocent.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And he was referencing our first album. And so that's that. And but the rest of the album, it's a double album.
It's great.
The Red album the self-titled album. It's a double album, so it makes sense that coming into 2026, we're still kind of touring it.
Yeah,
this is for a band that hasn't been the most prolific. That was like a major achievement for us to come up with a legitimate hours-long worth of material double album, and it seems like it's even for hardcore fans, it could be kind of dense, and hopefully you're still somewhat chewing on it or returning to it once in a while, and there's something for you still, like,
Well, yeah, you shouldn't just throw out the baby with the bathwater, right? Is it something where it's like like I said, I think it's your best record, So
I of course would agree with you because right. I'm biased, but
yeah,
actually, it's one of the records I have a really positive association with the making of it.
That's great.
Too. I'm really happy with it, and that's not always the case. And somehow the stars aligned, and maybe I made a few decent decisions along the way. I don't know, but
and something where I think the vibe gets across well. Like I'll take your word for it. I think that's like one of like the upper tier songs for Redd Kross for me. Like I think it's got everything that the band does well in like one song. I think it's very representative in a good way. So
thank you.
Absolutely.
Nice to hear. But now I'm back in my little writing room trying to conjure those spirits that gifted me that one.
Right.
And it's funny, you can't just because they visited you one day doesn't mean they can come on command.
Right. Oh man, if only they would. Right. If only they would.
But hopefully we'll record again at the end of 26. For a new record in 27, which would make it only 3 years between releases, if I can manage that to happen, and it would make us almost like a regular working band.
Yeah, that's like Robert Pollard levels compared to how you normally work, right?
Yeah, totally. That's my evil plan, but we'll see what transpires.
Well, Stephen, I'm glad we got to fit this in. Thank you so much for making the time.
Yeah, of course, that was a lot of fun, Conan.
Meant to do it about a year ago, but whatever. Got there eventually. That's that's how it goes sometimes.
I appreciate the support and the just thank you. It's cool.
Welcome anytime. Doesn't have to be. Christ, I was like, what? I don't remember what was it, like 2019 or something. No, it must have been. It was COVID. It was during COVID, but it was like really early on when you were on last. I'm trying to remember when that was. This is information probably I only care about.
My hair is much longer now, probably.
It is. So. April 2020 is when it was. Okay so
yeah. Wow.
5.5 years. Wow.
Yeah, wow. That was early COVID.
That was really early COVID, yeah.
I was wearing a mask.
I was still thinking that we'd be playing shows in June. Nope. That didn't happen. I was like, no, we'll be out back and then. No. Last thing, Stephen, I remember I asked this of you last time, but it doesn't matter because I'm asking you right now. Only canned question I ever ask on this show. Why do you do what you do?
That's the question for everybody. Why do you do it? Well, I'm going to limit that to being in a rock band, I suppose, because I could go way up and all sorts of the things I do. I have arrived at knowing that I do this because I don't seem to have any other choice. It's chosen me, it feels like. So I do it because I have to.
Stephen J. McDonald, deeply appreciate. Hope to see you soon, brother.
Yeah, take care.
Take care, man.
Yeah.
There he goes, Stephen McDonald. What a cool guy. Let's hear something off of the it's still new to me, damn it, record. Actually, you know what? I think we have to play Born Innocent after all that discussion of me getting it wrong and everything. Sounds like this. All right, that is Redd Kross with Born Innocent off of the Redd album, R-E-D-D, Redd album. The self-titled album just came out last year. Still great, check it out. Not off of the record Born Innocent, like I thought, which, I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you. It's not the normal time I do this show. So, this is any egregious mess up, so we just chalk it up to talking about that. I would appreciate that. Like to thank Stephen McDonald. Sorry, Stephen Shane McDonald, a.k.a. Shane. That's what I call him. Apparently. For being on the show yet again. This has been another episode of Conan Neutron Protonic Reversal, episode 444. Thank you so much for listening to it. The show airs normally Thursdays, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific, streaming live on YouTube and Twitch, podcast later everywhere. No ads, no sponsors, no kidding. ProtonicReversal.com for those archives. No Thursday show this week because it's Thanksgiving, hence why we're doing it now. So take of that what you will. But no show coming up for this week. But expect the year-end best of albums of 2025 episode coming up fairly soon. Also, Jeff Pincus coming back on. Speaking of bass players and Melvins, Jeff Pincus coming back on December 13th. Looking forward to that. Some other announcements coming up. We'll be closing strong. NeutronFriends.bandcamp.com for the band, Co-Neutron, The Secret Friends. 2 more shows left, Los Angeles area and Orange County, one with Mike Watt. Come out to those if you're in those areas. What else? Yeah, I guess I'm back at it, so it's going to be a Protonic Reversal winter. Hot Protonic winter. Cold Protonic winter? I don't know. We're going to workshop this material. I don't know. Thanks, folks. Liking, subscribing on your platform of choice. Leaving a review. All that helps people discover the show. It's deeply appreciated. Thank you. What else? Guess to stay safe out there, right?
Can you hear me now?
I'll check you later.
Out on Route 128, dark and lonely. I got my radio on. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Welcome to my top 10. I'd like to thank our sponsor. But we haven't got a sponsor. Not if you were the last man on Earth. She was prepared to prove it. This one goes out to a special girl. But there is no special girl. It's the end of radio. The last announcer plays the last record. The last what? Leaves the transmitter. Circles the globe in search of a listener. Can you you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Is it really broadcasting if there's no one there to receive? It's the end of radio. As we come to the close of our broadcast day, got my radio